When I think of Christmas music, I hear jingle bells, choral arrangements, and the unmistakable belt of Mariah Carey. So when I saw Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers moaning as one of the Christmas dinner record choices in Spider-Man Miles Morales, I was taken aback. This isn't holiday music. It's a hard bop classic, a song whose call and response structure inch towards funk and soul. Bobby Timmons' Benny Golson's and Lee Morgan's souls are neatly packaged by Jamie Merritt's bass lines, but they don't belong under a tree. The Jazz Messengers' inclusion in Miles Morales, however, is fitting. Beyond the Christmas setting, it's a game squarely focused on Harlem, one of jazz's historic stomping grounds. The song slides neatly into a soundtrack that sees typically grandiose superhero themes remixed to include window-rattling bass as Miles swings between buildings in Manhattan. The importance of music to building Miles' game world doesn't change the fact that jazz is typically an outlier in video game soundtracks. Jazz is the music of the people, and more often than not, video game characters just aren't people. Outside the context of crime simulators like Grand Theft Auto, the fourth installment of which also features moaning, game protagonists might be witches, anthropomorphized mammals, or portly plumbers. In those contexts, jazz shouldn't fit. But somehow it does. And as gamers, we're left with entertainment that not only can challenge our thumbs, but also challenge our ears. This is the jazz experiment in video games. When gaming entered the third dimension, soundtracks took on new importance. As camera angles panned around these robust environments, players needed to hear sweeping, cinematic arrangements to accompany the newfound boost of technology. Still, that third dimension and its increased opportunity for world building opened the door for composers to try their hands at scoring games to different genres. In the case of Bayonetta, the 2009 Platinum Games hack and slash, composer Hiroshi Yamaguchi wanted to capture the titular character's ethereal nature while playing her up as an, quote, uninhibited modern conception of a woman. Thus he composed a blend of jazz, choral, and J-pop tunes that signal femininity without undercutting the game's gothic tone. The outcome is a soundtrack that somehow merges the gates of hell with an atmospheric saxophone melody to perfect effect. As Bayonetta works to uncover her memories and quell a conflict between light and dark, songs like Mysterious Destiny focus squarely on her femininity. Mario has had similar bouts with jazzier tracks, with Super Mario 3D World's main theme giving the trumpet center stage. Nothing about this game warrants a horn-based theme. Unlike the music of Super Mario Odyssey's grandiose New Donk City, which featured a big band arrangement for its playable metropolis, 3D World is more modest. But sound director Mahito Yokota noted that since the game's setting was terra firma, and not the magical planetoids of Super Mario Galaxy, the music of 3D World had to be rooted in replicating realistic, live instrumentation. It would seem that the common thread around jazz compositions of video game, then, is the familiarity. Everyone has heard a jazz track at some point in their life, and even if they can't pinpoint the title or artist, jazz is recognizable enough to be approachable without being overbearing. The genre's fluidity helps it serve as a backdrop for a litany of stories, whether that's the daily life of a high schooler in Persona 5, or a respite from toppling the government in Final Fantasy XIII. As a lifelong Sonic the Hedgehog fan, I'm quick to laud the Hedgehog for his sensible taste in music. His 1991 debut merged a symphony of sounds across levels themed around lush forests, Romanesque ruins, space-age cities, and more. But when Sonic arrived in 3D on the Sega Dreamcast, and no, I don't count the Sonic 3D Blast and its isometric 3D landscape, he blurred the lines of what was possible for the soundtrack of a cartoony video game character. Sound director, lead composer, and Crush 40 frontman Jun Senoue composed It Doesn't Matter, a high-octane romp that distilled everything rad about Sonic into a 3-minute song. In a 2019 interview with Billboard, Senoue said that his love of rock infiltrated the first game's soundtrack. Quote, "With Sonic Adventure, I was able to establish a foundation for how future 3D Sonic games would sound, as it was quite different from the classic Sonic titles. From there, the soundtrack grew into a variety of themes. Amy Rose got bubblegum pop, Tails hummed along to inspirational pop punk, Knuckles rapped, and Big the Cat fished for Froggy to a lazy country-adjacent melody. Though these themes were limited to character songs, Sonic Adventure 2 took the musical variety and cranked it to max volume. The stage themes took on the personalities of each of the game's playable characters. Tails got more inspirational, Knuckles rapped more, and newly playable characters like Eggman and Shadow strutted to industrial rock and hair metal respectively. Sonoya's guitar pick and his musical ingenuity is all over SA2. His cohorts deserve praise too. Tomoya Otani, who until that point had only composed for non-Sonic Sega games, pitched Sonic Team on the idea of including hip-hop in the soundtrack. The team obliged, and from that sprung some of the most iconic, or notorious, music in gaming history. I'm quick to say that Knuckles' rap songs, performed by the now infamous Hunted P, have elevated from guilty pleasure to completely enjoyable music. The lyrics are comical at times, but the production is nothing short of intriguing. Knuckles' instrumentals play closest to boom-bap hip-hop, right up to the record scratches and punchy percussion. But beyond Knuckles' rap songs sitting catty-corner to jazz, Sonic Adventure 2 explores jazz and its Caribbean offshoots through another character, Rouge the Bat. Across 5 songs composed for Rouge, Knuckles' direct antagonist, Sonic Adventure 2 takes a crack at fusing big band and samba instrumentals with the color-splashed world of Sonic the Hedgehog. Though this is Rouge's introduction to this series, Sonic Team quickly acknowledges her role. She's a thief with conflicting motives, and her love of jewels plant her firmly in the way of Knuckles as guardian of the Master Emerald. Rouge's songs were composed by Fumie Kumatani, a composer who took up the piano at an early age. Prior to SA2, Kumatani composed music for the game's prequel, albeit in a more collaborative nature. Kumatani worked with both Jun Sonoya and Kenichi Tokoi on developing the genre-hopping Sonic Adventure, sharing credits with her co-workers on tracks like Open Your Heart and Big the Cat's Theme. Her piano influences, however, become apparent on SA2, where she takes the lead in composing for Rouge the Bat. Accentuating her conniving ways and thievish outlook, Rouge's stages play out to the lounge-friendly jazz. The plucky percussion of Fly in the Freedom, Rouge's theme song, maintains a steady tempo despite the varying instruments competing for space. Vibraphones ring out next to acoustic guitars, which drum out chords next to a humming and subtle bass. Horns accent the vocals, performed by Tabitha Fair, who lends her voice to each Rouge track as necessary. Sometimes her presence is as simple as rhythmic scatting, as heard on Fly in the Freedom's outro, Bright Sound, and Lovely Gate 3. When Fair takes time out of the spotlight on Security Hall, trumpets take her place, complementing the vibraphone melody and electric organ notes with short, punchy phrases. Rouge spends the level racing the clock. Players are only given 5 minutes to complete Security Hall in the main story, but Kumatani's composition assumes that Rouge is always in control. Like the jazz-laden tracks, Rouge might not always know how she'll pull off her heist, but she finds a stylish way to improvise time and time again. In Mad Space, Kumatani's track harkens back to the inseparability of jazz and espionage. Fair scats along the track like her voice is an eternal lockpick, while sleek strings and a wily flute play lookout. Rouge's music works in her favor because it's timeless. Sonoya's experimentation laid the groundwork for future Sonic music, which arguably is the most consistently good part of the Hedgehog's games. While past Sonic soundtracks were iconic because of the conflation of game levels and their music, the music of Sonic Adventure 2 can stand on its own merit. To say all of Sonic's musical success is owed to jazz is unfair. Future games take on a variety of genres, from the orchestral string sections of Sonic Unleashed to the synth pop of Sonic Colors, to the chiptune whistles of Sonic Mania. But Sonic Adventure 2's initial experimentation undoubtedly helped the Hedgehog spin dash towards a new era of video game music.